Today we're going to show you guys step by step how to build an awesome $775 gaming PC.
And it's using a legendary combo, the RX 7600X and the RX 7600, to show you guys some awesome price performance and tell you guys how you could win this PC after word from today's sponsor.
Nothing screams broke boy more than an unactivated copy of Windows, so that's where our sponsor can help you out. GVG Mall is an online marketplace that sells Windows licenses and game keys. It's crazy how easy it is to activate Windows. All you gotta do on GVG Mall is go buy a key using code TB20, and then once they send you that code, all you gotta do is copy and paste that code into the Windows activation settings, and boom, you now have an activated copy of Windows. So what are you waiting for? Head to GVG Mall today and be sure to use that code TB20 to save a bit at checkout. Thanks again to GVG Mall for sponsoring today's video. Now back to you, Matt and Jackson.
So this is pretty much all new parts minus the GPU, which we'll talk about the price that you should be paying for an RX 7600 on the used market and where we got it from. But this should be a really good build for 1080p gaming, and also if you want to get into 1440p, this should be able to handle that just fine.
And again, this is a step-by-step build guide. We're going to talk about all the parts, then show you guys how to build it at home. And if you want to buy anything from today's video, the links in the description down below are affiliate links. They will help us out and allows you to buy all the parts to follow along at home and build this awesome PC. Let's not waste any more time to talk about all the parts of this build and dive into building.
For the CPU, we have the Ryzen 5 7600X 6-core 12 threads. So I ended up getting this on Newegg as a combo deal. I will say Newegg has really cut back on those free bundles, but I ended up getting a 512 gig TeamGroup Vulcan Z 2.5-inch SSD with it. So I paid $180 for the CPU, which is about what the 9600Xs were going for. I wish they were still that cheap, but this isn't much worse. It's actually really close to a 9600X, and it has Gen 4 support, Gen 5 support, and one thing I'm going to talk about that I'm gonna disclaim once, I'll disclaim it again, but we are only using this 512 gig, but we are going to show you guys how to install an NVMe M.2 in case you want to buy an extra one, because I do understand 2.5-inch SSD in 2025 and only 512 gig storage, not a whole lot. What other cooler will we use than the SC214XT in black? This is what's going to be cooling our 7600X, and they are $18, 17, 18 bucks on Amazon. Pretty much all black tower cooler, works on multiple generations of platforms. It's just such a good bang for buck. Now at 140 bucks, I picked up this ASRock B650M Pro RS. You could spend a little bit extra and get a B850. It's kind of a newer chipset, but this will work just fine with 7000 and 9000 series. Sometimes you may need to do a BIOS update, but this one has Wi-Fi built in, which is pretty sick. And it's not a bad board. It's kind of like a silver and black color scheme, but it does have a 8-pin for the CPU power. It has 4 RAM slots and has VRM covers. Now this feels like a pretty good deal, $77 for 32 gigs of DDR5 RAM. We're starting to get close to those DDR4 prices, what they used to be. So we have a 2x16 gig kit, and it's 6000 megahertz. Now it is CL36, so actually pretty good in cache latency too. So I mean, this is some pretty good price. I'm excited to see these DDR5 prices keep dropping. Now for the storage, like I said, Vulcan Z 2.5-inch drive. It came for free from Newegg as a bundle. Anybody can get these bundles. It's pretty awesome, but I do understand it's only 512 gigs. We are gonna be giving away this PC when we're done, so we aren't gonna be adding any more storage to it, but I will show you guys how to add an NVMe, because I know most of you at home are probably gonna wanna add something like a 1 terabyte Gen 4 SSD. Honestly, brands like TimeTech, Crucial, Western Digital, Silicon Power, TeamGroup, they all have great drives. You can get a 1 terabyte for about 55 to 60 bucks. So we'll show you guys how to do it.
For the GPU, we had this Gigabyte RX 7600. We paid $240 over on Jawa. Thanks to Jawa, they give us a budget every single month to buy stuff for these PC builds. And we decided to go with the RX 7600 because it's an awesome pairing with the Ryzen 5 7600X. As we mentioned, great for 1080p gaming and even stretching to light 1440p for those non-VRAM hungry titles. You guys will really enjoy seeing the benchmarks when we pair these together, and yeah, I'm excited to use it in this build. And for the power supply, we got something a little bit different here. We have the Rosewill VSB 650, which is a 650 watt, 80 plus bronze power supply, but it's ATX 3.0 ready that has a 450 watt ATX 3.0 connector on it, which means for the new gen GPUs, you can rock one of these things. It's a $50 power supply and looks pretty solid. I will say, I was showing Jonah, this box looks incredibly familiar. It looks very similar to the Thermaltake smart boxes, the same kind of color scheme, you know. I don't know what you're doing there, Rosewill, but you know, you're doing what you need to do here. But I'm excited to see how this power supply performs with this build, because hey, we're always looking for new options for these budget builds, and they have these in a wide range of different options at good price points. So hopefully this is a good budget option that you guys can use for future builds. And for the case, with a very interesting name, but you know what? I wouldn't expect anything different from DIYPC. This is the DIYPC Micro ATX 6 wood panel case. It's a great name, by the way, but this thing has some good value. Coming in at 58 bucks, we have, is that real wood? We got wood up front, guys.
Walnut.
Walnut, that's that true walnut right there. We do have tempered glass as well, and I will say this is a pretty long case, so you will have no problem fitting a pretty long GPU. guys, you got a 5090 that's incredibly long, there's a cutout for you. But it comes loaded with fans, which is nice. We got 3 up front, 1 in the back, room for an AIO up top, and at that price point, this is looking pretty good, and it's kind of following the wood case trend that a lot of people love, besides Jake at PC Bros. He absolutely hates them. But on that note, we're gonna go ahead and show you guys how to build this gaming PC. We're gonna start with the motherboard, doing the CPU, motherboard, RAM, cooler install. From there, I'm gonna show you guys how to put the power supply in the case, get everything hooked up, and then we'll dive to gaming to show you guys what this thing is capable of. But let's go ahead and get to building, and then we'll dive into benchmarking.
So for the first step of putting together our gaming PC, it's pulling out the motherboard. So what we have done is put the motherboard on top of the motherboard box. This is a very safe way to build. And next, we're gonna pull out our CPU. So the good part about new Ryzen is 7000 series is up is there's no pins on the CPU. So check it out. It's just flat. I can actually do this and not break it. So watch it not work now. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to open the latch like so. And this is gonna be the same for 9000 series, 7000 series, honestly 10,000 series whenever that comes out. And there's actually a pretty good size arrow on here. We got an arrow here, we got an arrow here, and then actually here too, there's also an arrow. So they really don't want you to mess this up, and they're keyed. So technically you can't put the CPU in wrong. I have seen it done though. Your computer will not work. So just like that, make sure it's seated. This part's always a little painful, so just bear with me. It always feels like you're breaking something, but I promise you're not. You'll even notice the notches are still perfectly there. We're looking good on that CPU install. So now you could do the cooler next. We're gonna come back to it. We're actually gonna do kind of the more simple stuff first. So we're gonna go on to the RAM now. So we got our Viper RAM here. Some really nice tall dims too, I gotta say. It's looking pretty nice. All right. So let's get our 2 sticks of RAM out. So you'll notice this board actually tells us, it says first, it wants us to do B2 and A2 for our first 2 installs. So if you have 4 sticks, you'll fill the whole entire board. If you only have 1, generally you're gonna wanna do 1 or 3 or 2 and 4, depending on who you ask. But in this case, we're gonna always do the furthest away from the CPU. That's a general rule of thumb. RAM can also only go in one way, which right now I'm doing the wrong way. You notice how that slot, like DDR5 is so close, but it's off. So that's not gonna work. Now we're lined up. This side actually goes down first is what I like to do generally. So kind of like that, because some RAM slots, you open both latches. This one's only one latch. So just to make sure that I get the RAM in properly, I like to do the fixed side first. So generally I kind of push to that side a little bit and then this side. And notice how these are all the way in. I did not have to do, if you have to do this, your RAM's not out of the way. It should be like this. Very nice RAM install, good looking RAM. Let's go on to the SSD. That's theoretical because we actually are not gonna be using an NVMe M.2 in this build. Once again, I think that this build, based on the price, I was trying to get as low as possible, so it's kind of upgrade path in mind. Matt will actually be the one to show you guys how to install this 2.5 inch, but just in case, I know a lot of you guys are probably gonna go out of your way to buy another M.2, which I definitely recommend doing. So you gotta get these 2 screws out. They are a PH1. Pretty small screws. You can go ahead and peel this off here. So I'm gonna be demonstrating a 1TB Gen 4 Clev Crash drive, which actually, this is the drive I'd recommend getting. But basically what you're gonna do, let's put it in sideways. It will sit sideways. You don't wanna put it in straight on. And then this board specifically, you actually take your M.2 heat shroud and you put it back over, and then you would take your screws. Make sure you take off that sticker. I'm not taking it off just because we're not actually keeping this in. And then you would just tighten these down, back and forth, just finger tight. You don't want to get these too tight. And then boom, you would have your M.2 installed and good to go. But we're gonna go ahead and take that out and go on to the CPU cooler. So to install this CPU cooler, and this is gonna be most AM5 coolers, you're actually gonna take off the included cooler bracket. So this is just, there's some coolers out there that still use this retention system. I guess that's what it would be called. It's like an AM5 retention mount, but we don't use those these days. I mean, especially not on like these kind of cheaper aftermarket coolers. So you take these off. I recommend keeping them in case you ever do get like a liquid cooler or something that does use them. So here's everything that comes in this bag. I've been doing this for a while, so I've kind of memorized what everything is. This is gonna be for Intel. We're not gonna be using that. So this is gonna be like LGA 1200 to 1700. These are also all Intel. One of them is for like 1151, 1200. The ones with the lines, I believe, are 1700. And then they're very kind to make AMD in their own mounting category. So AMD is usually always gonna have these red standoffs, and these are in fact standoffs. They actually go on first. I have seen some people, I saw a PC Bros repair earlier where they had these like installed on the top of the cooler, and I was like, I don't even know how you did that. But basically, we put those on, and then they do give us included screws. you're just gonna line these up first. And I know with this build specifically, like with AMD, you're gonna have these brackets face out. Now on Intel, they're gonna use the holes in towards like the middle there, and sometimes they're gonna face inwards. It just depends. Sometimes you just gotta kind of test fit it before you screw everything in. But we're just gonna take these. Once again, not super tight. I mean, really almost everything on a PC does not need to be just a little more than hand tight, basically. You don't really need to torque anything down. It's not going anywhere. These brackets are the exact same too, by the way. They're not like offset or anything, so you don't need to worry about getting them mixed up. So we got that on. So now they do give us included thermal paste. We normally like to opt for something a little nicer, so I'm gonna grab some Arctic. All right, so we got some Arctic MX6 here, but realistically, the stuff that comes with it is actually pretty adequate. I think this one's this one's out. All right, let's try the next one. You think this one's gonna be out too? Ooh, we have a winner. So I normally like to kind of do something similar to like maybe like an X pattern, or I like to kind of follow our Toasty Bros logo for these coolers actually. Or sorry, for these CPUs. So I kind of go for like a little bit in the corners. This one's out now too. This is what happens when you have a PC selling business and you go through all kinds of thermal paste. Good thing it's all MX6, right? Oh my God. Hold on. That's 3 tubes, so we need to throw these away. All right, so now we have our thermal paste on there. This stuff's actually pretty thick thermal paste, look at that. So I kind of actually do put thermal paste on based on how runny it is. If it's really runny, you don't really usually need as much, but if it's kind of like thicker stuff, about that should be good. So the cooler is slightly offset. You'll notice actually you can really see it from this angle. So the reason they do that is because they want you to put the fan on this side so it's not interfering with the RAM, because the fan will go to about here. So if you wanted to add, 4 sticks of RAM total, you'll be ready to do that. So we're just gonna kind of plop it on there. Doesn't need to be perfect right away. And I like to normally start these a little bit by hand if you can, at least one of them. And then you're gonna kind of have to look at an angle here. This is why I recommend putting these CPU coolers on while they're outside of the case too, because if you have, once you get your, your motherboard inside the case, it can be really hard to get coolers on. Now I like to do opposing, going back and forth, just something to help make sure you don't like crack the CPU or, push all the pins down to one side. Now these coolers do bottom out, so you basically just screw it until it doesn't screw anymore. And then you don't need to keep going. You just do it till it stops, and then you're good. You don't need to like force it down anymore. Because as you can see, this, I don't know if Jonah can see that, but these brackets already kind of bend upwards, so it's the last thing you want is just to keep going. So, all right, we got that on. Now we have the last part, basically at the home stretch of the motherboard. So we're gonna go ahead and plug this in to CPU fan 1. It's obvious, right? CPU fan 1. They don't even really have any more headers up top on this one. So it is notched to make sure you get that in the right spot, otherwise your fan's not gonna spin. And you're gonna want the fan facing this way because you're gonna go towards the exhaust fan that'll be inside the case. What I normally like to do is take this cable, and we'll clean it up in a minute because it is coming out the back. So we're gonna line this fan up right with the top of the cooler. I see a lot of installs where they're kind of crooked. I think that kind of ruins the aesthetics of the build, so do the best you can. You're gonna take these little, they're almost like paper clips, honestly, and you're going to stretch them until they get onto the aluminum fins. Just be really careful with this step because these fins bend really easy. We also see a lot of coolers come with bent fins, just like that. And then you can kind of center the fan out. Now we have this extra cable here, so sometimes, adding a cable tie can help. Also, there's other times where I can kind of just, let's see what I can do here, kind of just mess around a little bit and you'll find a spot where it sticks. Yeah, it looks pretty good. So we don't have the cable sticking out anywhere. I mean, really what you're gonna see is this. So we don't have any extra cable sticking out. Board is complete, looking pretty darn good. So now Matt's gonna go ahead and show you guys how to get the power supply and the motherboard inside the case.
Okay guys, now it's time to get the power supply and our SSD into the case so we can do the motherboard install. So what we have right here is our power supply, the Rosewill power supply, which is a semi-modular power supply, meaning it comes with a bunch of different cables that you can use, but you most likely need to plug in some more or remove some depending on what you're needing. So as you can see right here, out of the box, we have our 24 pin, which we do need. We have a CPU 8 pin, actually 2 CPU 8 pins. And then we have this ATX 3.1 connector, which is a 450 watt connector. In this build, we aren't using that. We need to use a standard 8 pin power connector. So we're gonna go ahead and grab this one right here, which comes in the box. And we're gonna go ahead and plug it up to the PCI power slot. Boom, just like that. And we're also gonna need SATA power because we are using a 2.5-inch SSD. But if you do copy this exact build, it doesn't look like there's any RGB or anything, so if you do go with an NVMe, you don't need to plug this up. But I mean, it doesn't really hurt to have any extra cables. It's just for cable management purposes. It might be a little cluttered. But we're gonna go ahead and plug that into SATA. And there you go. Our power supply is ready to go. Inside the box also is your power cord, so don't lose that, and this little bag with zip ties and the screws you need to screw in the power supply, so be sure to hang on to that as well. We're gonna go ahead and take the back panel off the case. Remove these thumb screws like so. Now we're going to install our power supply. Now this thing has a lot of room to work with, so I always like putting the screws back in so you don't lose them. We're gonna go ahead and move this out of the way, which is all your front panel connectors. You wanna make sure that doesn't get pinched behind anything. And we're gonna take our power supply, and with the fan side facing down, in this scenario, the grill side facing down, we're gonna go ahead and slide in the power supply. And then, it's gonna be hard for me to do, but we're going to line up, let's try from this side, right there. You're gonna line it up and then use the screws that came in that little bag I just showed you to screw it in. You have to use coarse threaded power supply screws to screw in your power supply, and this is what they look like. Yay. They got a little cap on the top and they're coarse threaded. So we're gonna go ahead and screw in here, 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 and here, and then the power supply will be installed. Now you do want to take this bag out. This is the bag that has all the screws you're going to need for mounting in, let's say, the SSD, your motherboard, and all that sort of stuff. And it is a nice little Ziploc bag, so that is cool. It also comes with a fan to SATA adapter. That's so strange. But we're going to keep this off to the side. Now we're going to figure out our SSD before we move on. Normally, you have a couple options of what you can do. Actually, I'm just going to use this right here. This right here is a 2.5-inch SSD slot, or if you, in theory, have a 2.5-inch hard drive, you could put this here as well. But we're going to go ahead and unscrew this, let that fall down like so. And we're gonna go ahead and take our SSD. Now how we're gonna do this is as follows. We have this tray right here. We're gonna take our SSD and we're gonna have it face this way because it could go this way if you wanted to, but you don't have a ton of room to plug in the cable. So we're gonna go ahead and flip it upside down. Again, this can be in the back of your PC. You're not gonna see it. And we're gonna have it go this way so we can plug in this, the SATA power and SATA data very easily. And to do that, we're going to flip it over on this side. And as you guys can see, all these screw holes line up. We're gonna do this, 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 and this. And we're gonna use fine threaded screws, which we're gonna open up that bag I just showed you and get out our fine threaded screws, which are the same ones that you would use to screw in your motherboard. And here we go. We got 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, as we mentioned, these are power supply screws. Those are fine threaded screws. You want to use these. If you try to use a power screw with an SSD, you're most likely going to rip out the threads and it's going to be a problem. But we're going to go ahead and screw this thing in and then put it right back where it came from. All right, last screw going in, and then we're going to go ahead, slide this back in, take that thumb screw, and get her started a little bit. Grab this. And there you go, your SSD's in there. Now we will need a SATA cable, which does come with your motherboard, by the way. This is so weird. We normally just say, forget the SATA cable, you don't need that with these build guides. But there should still be one in here as long as Jackson hasn't done anything with it. Here we go. It comes with 2 of them actually, so you can add another drive in the future if you want to. And we're gonna go ahead and get the flat to flat cable because the flat to angle isn't gonna work very well for our scenario. It may with the motherboard actually, let me see. Now let's do flat to flat. So we'll do flat to flat, and we're gonna plug one end into the bottom part of this SSD, like that. And we're gonna put this off to the side for the cable management section later. And I guess I'll go ahead and plug it up for Jackson. This right here is the SATA power we plugged up. And we're gonna go ahead and plug this right here. So now the SSD has power. It will need to be plugged into the motherboard during the cable management section, but it is now ready to go. Now let's go ahead and move stuff out of the way, and then we're gonna plop in our motherboard. And after that, guys, once we screw it all in, we're getting to the point now we're gonna be ready to game on this thing. We're getting closer, but this is built-in IO shield, so I was gonna say IO shield, we don't need to do that. So let's go move stuff out of the way and get her set up. Okay guys, it is time to get the case ready to put the motherboard in. One thing we will be adding is 2 extra standoffs, which this right here is a standoff. It's what is mounted in the case for you to screw the motherboard into so your motherboard is securely put inside the case. Now, the ones that are already in there are fine, but normally they do miss a couple of different spots. I'll lower the table here so Jonah can see easier. This one right here and this one right here are missing. Now, is it the end of the world if you don't put those in there? No, it wouldn't be, but it is something that if you want to have equal mounting across the motherboard and use all the screw holes, it is recommended. Now, one downside is this case did not come with the tool that you can use, a Phillips head screwdriver, to actually screw these on. So I'm gonna show you guys with these very rusty pliers, how to manually install them yourself. So we're gonna go ahead and take this standoff. We're gonna start it with our fingers. So just get it started right there. And then you're gonna take this and you're just gonna twist it. Very, very slowly. So yeah, you're just gonna keep twisting until it's close. And I'm just gonna cheat because I'm not gonna use it anymore. Get one of these tools, by the way. Buy like a PC building screw kit. It'll help you a lot in the long run. They're like 10 bucks on Amazon. But this tool right here does make it a lot easier. I'll show you the alternative. Wow, look at that. Beautiful. But hey, if you're in a pinch, you can make anything work. And then we're gonna do the same thing with the other one. Now we're ready to drop in our motherboard. Best way to grab the motherboard is by the cooler, as long as it's mounted properly. We're gonna lift it up like so, and this is where you realize if it is mounted properly. We'll go ahead and lay it in. Now we gotta make sure not to pinch this fan cable right here. And we're gonna let the IO shield go around that and drop in to place. And what we need to do is screw in the motherboard now using those fine threaded screws we showed you earlier, and we're gonna screw in the following spots. The top corner right here. We're gonna go over behind the CPU cooler, kind of hard to see, there's one right there. We also have this one all the way on the side that we put in, the one below it, one right here, one right here, one here, and one here. And then once we're done, the motherboard is screwed in, we're gonna bring jacks in and we're gonna plug everything up. Then I'm gonna grab something a little thinner so we can actually get in between the cooler. Maneuver our way down like so, and okay, cool. All right, so now we have all the screws in, the motherboard is safe and secure. We're gonna go ahead and start plugging everything up, put the graphics card in, and then we're off to gaming.
All right, it's everyone's favorite part, cable management and plugging cables in. So obviously we're gonna start off by plugging all the necessary cables in with the 24 pin. So this is coming off the power supply. This is your main power that powers your motherboard. We're gonna take that and you can really pick either one. I think I'm gonna go with the top one.
And as you can see, here's the 24 pin right here. I'm gonna take this cable, go flip it around, line up the clip with the clip, and we push in, and boom, there we go. We got the 24 pin installed.
Now next up, for the second most important, we have the CPU power. So that's gonna be a 4+4 pin technically. And I noticed in this power supply, they actually don't label. Sometimes they'll say CPU on the side, but just know that it should not fit in your GPU, and your PCIe really shouldn't fit into the CPU header. I will say though, I've seen it done before.
As you can see the cable coming through up top and the connector right next to it. I might block it with my hand when I go in there, but you see where we're gonna plug it in. Same deal, we're gonna line up the clip. All 8 pins lined up, push in, and boom, you're good to go. Feed the extra back into the back.
And Matt already showed you guys how to plug in the SSD, but that does use a SATA power cable and a SATA data cable. So the last thing I'm gonna do before we get off on the power supply step is the PCIe. This one actually is labeled, funny enough, it says PCIe. That's technically a 6+2 pin, also an 8 pin, kind of like the CPU, but they should not plug interchangeably. And I'm just gonna preemptively running that, let's just shoot through there.
And as you can see, it's coming out right here, and we'll have it when we need it.
So now we're gonna move on to the case connectors. This case specifically comes with them all rubber banded and whatnot. But as you can see, we got a good amount of stuff to plug in here. So let's start off with what I think is one of the hardest for most people. This is your front panel connector. So that's gonna be things like your power LED, your hard drive LED, power switch. Power switch is the most important one to get right out of all of these. If you want your PC to turn on, of course.
As you can see, that is where the front panel header is. It is right here. McAllister, you gotta throw a diagram on screen because it's not a single connector. But we're gonna go in order from left, up, right, and down. So bottom left is hard drive LED. The top above that is power LED, positive, positive on the left, negative on the right. Then right across from the power LED will be your power switch, which actually, do the reset first, it's easier that way. Reset on the bottom, and then power switch above. And now, push all these back in, and you are good to go.
All right, next up, HD audio. So this is gonna look similar to something like a USB 2, which this build, funny enough, does not have. But instead of the pin missing on the very far right or left, it's gonna be missing a little bit closer to the middle. And this one's actually labeled. It does say HD audio in really small font. Kind of preemptively making sure that we're not running over top of other cables, and put that right above the power supply.
And the HD audio is on the far left. As you guys can see, it's missing that one pin, just like the connector itself. And we'll go ahead and line it up, push it in, and boom, HD audio is installed.
Next up, we're gonna do the USB 3.0. This is a connector you can't miss because it's ginormous. It's typically gonna be blue like this one, and it's gonna be, you said, right over here?
Yeah.
All right, just gotta get that through right there.
And we're gonna line up right here. Here's the USB 3 header. Line up, push it in, and you're good to go. Feed some of the excess back through.
And next up, we got USB-C. So USB Type-C is also a very unique connector, kind of like USB 3, where there's nothing else that looks like it. So we're gonna take that. Now, if you go with the slightly different build, you may not have USB-C. They do sell USB 2.0 connectors.
And also, you can see if you want to, there's a USB 3 on this side as well. So wherever you want to do it, you got 2 options. But here's our USB-C. It's gonna plug in right here. It only goes in one way. So if you're having some issues plugging it in, like I just did right there, you're gonna flip it around and push it in, and boom, there you go. USB-C is ready to go.
All right, now one of the last connectors we actually have is a SATA data cable. So this is coming off of your 2.5-inch SSD. If you end up going with an NVMe, you don't have to worry about these cables, the SATA data or SATA power at all. But like I said, we're saving some money here today. So you wanna do here? All right. So, yeah, we got a couple options, but I think we'll do here to keep it clean.
So here's one of the SATA cables right here. We're gonna line up the little clip once again, push it in, and boom, we're good to go.
So here's actually the last cable that we have to plug in before we go back to the front for the graphics card. This is a fan header. This is called a 4-pin fan header. These fans are actually all daisy chained. So this is like a multi-splitter and it comes with everything plugged in. So I'm gonna go ahead and run this fan header down to the USB 3 area.
Yep, and as you guys can see, there is a fan header right here on the other side of USB 3. We're gonna push this underneath here. We're gonna line up the pins, push in, and just like that, we are now good to go.
And this right here is our ATX 3.0 connector that Matt was telling us about. I think it's actually 3.1, and it's a 450 watts, so it can actually handle, I mean, technically up to what, a 50, 80?
Yes.
That'd be pushing it a little bit in this build, but it's pretty cool. We're not gonna need that, so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go ahead and shove that down there. I'm gonna go ahead and shove these here, and then since we already preemptively ran that PCIe power cable, we're gonna go to the front where Matt's gonna show you guys how to install the graphics card.
All right, guys, we are now going to install the GPU. As you can see right here, here's our graphics card, the RX 7600. Nice 3-fan card that you can pick up on Jawa with some deal hunting. Definitely go to Jawa to look for some used GPU deals, but we're gonna go ahead and install the GPU by going over to the PC. We're gonna unscrew this little cover right here. This allows you to have access to the slots to install your graphics card. We're gonna slide that way. We're gonna triple check where this GPU is gonna go, but I believe it is the top 2 slots. Yes, it is. So we're going to unscrew this top one right here. This one is the one PCI cover that uses a screw. The other one is what we call a break off, which means you cannot put it back in afterwards. And how you're going to break it off is you're going to push it. Let's see, which way is it going to go easier? All right, let's do in. So we're going to go in. Make sure you watch this for rubbing anything on the motherboard. Sometimes you can scrape some stuff that's important on the motherboard if you have it right up against it, but it looks like we have a lot of clearance here, so we should be good. Wiggle back and forth. Now we're gonna make sure our PCI lock is disengaged. We're gonna take our graphics card. We're going to line it up with that slot. Make sure it's lined up and then firmly push it in. You should hear a nice click. We're gonna take that one screw that was for the top slot and go ahead and screw it in. And Jackson seemed to clean up all the other screws, or I did. So I have no other screws, but I will grab another power supply screw here to screw in the top screw hole. Another coarse thread screw, the same one we used for the power supply. And the last one is going in like so. All right, we're gonna slide the cover on, tighten this down, do just one little turn of the screwdriver, that should do. So we're gonna take that 8-pin that Jackson fed through earlier, and we're gonna go ahead and plug it up. Focus, focus, focus. We're gonna go ahead and plug it up right here. So we'll go ahead and take this side, plug it in. Now you see this little extra like pigtail that's coming off of this thing. We're gonna grab a zip tie, which will kind of be a good transition to Jackson doing the rest of the cable management. And we're gonna use that zip tie to tie that together so it's nice and clean and it looks like one cable. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead. We'll go ahead and zip tie right here. Let's line up like so, zip tied, and same deal with this one. Boom. And now we're going to go ahead and shove that back through. We're going to grab some snips and we're going to do a little boop and a boop. And just like that, we are now all set up and ready to go. Now, the next step is Jackson's going to show you how to do some cable management in the back. And then from there, your PC should work. Now, if you want to make sure it works now before you tie everything down, this is a good time to plug everything up, power it on, and make sure it works. But we know this PC is going to work just fine, so we're going to show you guys how to cable manage, and then we'll dive into some gaming.
All right, this one's going to be really easy because the cable management, there's just not a lot of cables here. So the first thing I'm going to do is over here, I don't like how we don't have fans, and you're just going to see these cables going straight across, so we need to fix that. So I'm going to look for a spot where I can kind of anchor these. Am I going to be successful is the real question. I'm trying to pop off the front panel here without breaking anything. So I'm using a flathead. This is normally not part of the cable management section, but I see a way to make this build a good amount cleaner. So yeah, I don't want these cables showing. So what I'm doing is I'm gonna actually put a zip tie through the front here to hold these cables down at the bottom to keep them from going right in front of where you would mount a radiator or fan. See, look at that. So now you're not gonna see that in the front. So that looks pretty good. We can leave the front panel off for now. You can remove the bread tie or leave it, whatever's cool. But we're gonna look for these little mounting points for zip ties, which I will say this case has a lot. They did a really good job. A lot of cases they only add like a couple, but this one has them pretty much the whole way that you would want to run cables. So I usually like to work my way from the top down. So let's see, we'll get our CPU. This one does have them for the CPU, but I will say they're kind of in a bad spot. Yeah, pretty hard for me to get anything in there, so we'll just run it along the back side of the board. That's all good. Now this one we can get to really well. I will say these cables are very clean. They're good looking cables. They're like almost like, I mean, they are individually sleeved. Tell you what, if they added some cable combs somehow to these would be pretty awesome. We can kind of just put these down here. I always like to tell people towards the bottom of the PC, you really don't want to go super hard in the cable management because it just makes troubleshooting and adding parts later on a lot harder, and like nobody's going to look at the very bottom of your PC, like the power supply basement area. Now, since we do have a see-through basement, we do want to kind of make the basement a little bit tidy. So let's go ahead and get one more zip tie right here towards the bottom. And then we're gonna shove a lot of these extra cables actually in the hard drive cage. That really cleans things up, especially when you're not using a hard drive, which, you know, who's doing that these days, right? And then I'm gonna add one more zip tie in a spot that normally would never add one, but I'm only doing it just because, like I said, you can, this whole power supply basement is perforated, so we'll be able to see cables through there. So I just wanna clean this up a little bit. But all right, that looks pretty good. So now I'm gonna take some flush cuts, and we're gonna go through, cut each one of our zip ties. Be careful not to cut any of your cables, because that's not gonna be a fun day. And then, boom, we're looking pretty good in cable management. So we'll go ahead and flip this around and see if it works.
Okay, gamers, it's time to plug up your PC. Be sure to put the power switch at the back of your power supply and hit that power button. I don't know where it is.
Oh, it's up here. I got it.
He's got it.
Ooh.
Yay. All our fans are spinning. Everything's looking real good. Noise levels are pretty decent. You can tune that in the BIOS if you want to. But now that we got this going, let's get some gaming on it. If you guys want to know how to install Windows, by the way, if it's your first time, check out the PC Bros YouTube channel. We have some guides on how to install Windows step by step. But today, it's time to get to gaming and see what this thing can do. All right, gamers, we are in Killing Floor 3 to kick things off with this PC, and we're currently running the following settings. We're at 1080p, we're on a medium preset with all the lumen turned off. So basically any sort of reflection / ray tracing is turned off. Because we are running a native 1080p, we aren't running any sort of upscaling on an Unreal Engine 5 game, and with this graphics card, it's gonna be demanding. So we're gonna go ahead and drop in. This is one of those games where I think you're gonna wanna have to play 1080p if you wanna get the best results, or be okay with FSR, because you can run 1440p with FSR, but you have to be okay with upscaling and that sort of stuff. But if you guys don't know, Killing Floor 3 is an Unreal Engine 5 game, pretty demanding, and it's a fun game to try out. It just came out pretty recently, and I've been having a lot of fun with it. So we're gonna run around and see what kind of FPS numbers we can get. Well, okay, now we're down in the map, and wow, the FPS, oh, okay, it's loading in. It's loading in. I think it was just a bit of a delay of loading stuff in. I was gonna say, that FPS looked quite low, but now we're getting about 70 FPS, so we'll see if this holds up when we have a swarm of zombies coming in after us. Oh, they are already after us, here they come. Oh, they are everywhere. Próximo. This isn't the kind of game that I'm gonna be playing early in the morning, just being honest with you, but we must cook regardless. Yeah, 70 FPS. Game still looks really good, very vibrant. We're using about 18 gigs of RAM, so good call on having 32 gigs of RAM. That was one sacrifice we could have considered making, but when it comes to DDR5, I mean, you might as well go 32 gigs, especially if you're on such a new platform. It's just gonna help you in the long run, especially with any general multitasking you're gonna wanna do. Oh, who's shooting me? Gotcha. Now, this isn't a perfectly smooth experience. There are some slight stutters here and there, especially as these mobs are building up over here. But it is playable enough, especially on these settings, which are a little bit higher settings, that you could do some modifications if you're wanting to get slightly higher FPS averages. And for the price point, I think this is still a very, very good experience. One more. Ugh! Slow-mo reload. No, back up. I don't want anything to do with you. Oh, and you see right there, our FPS dropped below 60 when things got a little bit crazy there. But this is pretty dang playable, just for the fun of it. We'll show you guys some FSR as well. Let's go to video settings. Oh, wait a minute. We're holding up. Uh-oh. Did the game crash? Unreal Engine crash? Oh no! Well, that was a very convenient crash because it allowed me to change some settings that I wanted to change. So we have 1440p, medium settings, and now we're using some FSR set to balanced, and it's funny, we're actually getting better FPS on these settings than native 1080p, and it does look a lot better. So I will say with this game, FSR is 100% your friend. Now, you don't have to deal with any frame gen or anything like that to actually have some input lag, but FSR is gonna help you out a lot and getting a higher refresh rate experience. And this is running medium settings. And you could go even more aggressive with FSR if you want to, if you're someone who likes 120 plus FPS. But when we're talking in this market, a $775 PC, a pretty well under $1,000 PC, being able to play this at 1440p, albeit again with some upscaling involved. I'm very impressed with the performance. Now that crash is something we'll have to keep an eye on, but to be honest, Unreal Engine 5 games, and me playing this game in particular, I've had these crashes happen before. So early access games tend to do that. So something to keep in mind with the PC gaming space. It's not gonna always be perfect, but as you guys can see, this gaming experience at 1440p is running pretty dang smooth. Now let's go ahead and try some Call of Duty Warzone. A more demanding esports title that will definitely show you guys what this thing is capable of, but all in all, it gets the pass so far. Let's go ahead and swap. Can I hit this? Ooh, yeah, that was good. Let's go ahead and swap games and see what else this PC can do.
All right, we are playing Call of Duty Modern Warzone Fair Black Ops 765.
Yes, what he said.
And we are currently running 1080p balanced preset, and we are not using any of that upscaling. We're going all natural right now.
All natty.
But yeah, it's looking pretty decent. You know, running no upscaling, we're getting competitive refresh rates, I'd say.
Super competitive. You just want to take out his teammate. He's so competitive.
I thought about it.
Oh, these guys look so sweaty.
I know, I'm scared.
They're just like
going back up to my teammate.
Tweaking around
like
corners.
This.
Oh!
Ooh.
Oh! A goal!
Oh! I'm cooked, Chad. I'm not what I once was.
They're communicating like, there's a guy! There's a guy!
Peeking me is crazy there.
You know there's some other teams like, oh, there's some action. Oh, no, don't die this way, not this way. Oh, that guy's a gamer. They knew you were benchmarking. They wanted to show worst case scenario.
Through the building. Through the building.
I gotta see this. What happened?
It was literally a cluster.
Yeah, it was a cluster.
Or not a cluster, but a
precision.
Well, you know, I'll give it one more to try to give Kalister another kill, but my goodness. I think I am in like the top like.
Oh, well, you can't play anymore. There's
well,
that.
I'm actually dead. Yeah, Call of Duty, it ran super well. I mean, that's definitely a pretty good optimized game, but we gotta test out another one.
Yeah, we got some other games to run, some built-in benchmarks, and don't talk about how you can win this PC, because you know what? It's pretty good value for the money. I bet you all at home would definitely want it.
So after playing a bunch of games on our giveaway PC, we gotta say, it is pretty awesome. The step-by-step build guide, really easy to follow too. I like that this PC doesn't have a ton of RGB, so you don't have to plug in all these different connectors. It's pretty sleek, it's easy to build, and honestly, this thing could fit a 5090 in it if you wanted to.
And we ran some other benchmarks to round out the testing of this PC. We ran CS2, 1080p low, got an average of 542 FPS, the 1% low of 187.6. Clair Obscure on 1080p high settings at 85% render scale, we got an average of 60 to 70 FPS.
And then our 3D Mark Time Spy score was 10,794, which is a 7 cents per point score, and that's pretty good for a mid-range gaming PC.
So if you guys want to build this PC yourself, be sure to check the links in the description down below. They will be affiliate links, they will help us out. But if you guys want to have a chance to win this gaming PC, on August 8th, starting at 11 a.m. Eastern time, we'll be streaming over on twitch.tv/ToastyBros. We do this every single month where we stream, play some games, and towards the end of the stream, we give away an awesome gaming PC. And this month, we're giving away this gaming PC. So be sure to follow Twitch if you aren't already to stay up to date on everything that's happening, or go to toastybros.tech/giveaway to learn more as well. Links down below.
So we hope to see you guys there, and we also hope that you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, make sure you check out our other 2 YouTube channels and also our twitch.tv/toastybros, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
And we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.
check out PCBros.tech because you can't get this PC here since we're giving it away, but you can buy a PC.
You can buy a PC at PCBros.tech. Don't cut that pause. Use code TOZYBROS on checkout. You'll save 3% on your next purchase. See you guys later. Goodbye.